Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. This is John with Tommy's Top Picks, here to bring you another mail day, or I guess what we'll start calling money where your mouth is. The rest of the big order that I did recently has shown up. There's a few other things outstanding that are just kind of like slowly trickling in after this. So this will probably be the last one for a while. Like I said previously, I am doing regular accumulations, so there is reasonable amounts of weekly sort of buys happening, but I did a bigger one. I got a little more aggressive when I was looking at the market and wanted to make sure that I got positions in a bunch of different things. So let's go ahead and jump in, see what I got here today. I know it's mostly sealed product, but there's probably some other stuff here. Try to move through this relatively quickly because I'm sure it's not the most exciting of content. But while we talk about that, or while we do that, let's talk about, oh yeah, that's right. So I started to diversify a little bit, get into some Pokemon. I don't think these are the best prices for these. Some of these are probably a little bit higher than I would have liked to jump into. But the idea is that it is diversifying into another major game that has an upward trend typically, and getting a little bit of all sorts of different sets. There is a chance, I haven't fully decided yet because I got to figure out how to scrape the website, but there is a chance that I will be doing a price market update for Pokemon going forward, because I found a divergence in case to box, which you guys know if you watch my market updates. I like to track that stuff and see what's up there. There was a couple of different opportunities that popped up. If you buy a case, your boxes are cheaper, which is rare, it seems, and I want to track the numbers and see what that looks like. I think Pokemon's the good next step because it's the place I know the least about, I'll be honest. Magic, I can kind of gut check it and have a fairly good idea of what does what. Pokemon, I don't know anything, and it would be good for me to learn since it's just a major factor in the TCG space. So, another Pokemon there. We got our Crimson Collector, which is dirt cheap. All these recent older sets, so like Innistrad and beyond, all very, very cheap. So I've been picking those up pretty heavily, trying to fill out my collection a little bit so I have stuff to turn over in a few years as the prices go up. So one thing I wanted to bring up for those of you who care about the kind of market implications or macroeconomy info, we talked about the job numbers, or the number of open jobs, going down recently, and that was a trigger for equities to pop because essentially people assumed the Fed would not raise rates as quickly anymore, or start slowing down, or start pivoting based on job information being bad, I guess, economically bad. There's another one. Which one is this? Astral Radiance. This is Vivid Voltage. And then this one is Darkness Ablaze. So that number gave some equities some pop. Shortly after, the next day, I believe, the employment numbers came out. And instead of being terrible, as I think everyone hoped they would be, just in the economics and financial space, no one wants anyone to lose a job, but if job numbers go down, that means the Fed can stop being so aggressive, because part of their deal is dealing with this employment factor. So what happened is the job numbers came out and they were pretty good. So people are high employment, low unemployment, which is typically something you want, but in a high inflationary economy, wow, this one's in a rough shape. I don't know how much that matters. Look, can you guys see that? It's all banged up. Not sure how much that matters, but oh yeah, this is ripped up here and everything. Yeah, that's not the best. I might have to get another box of this that's actually cleaner. But when the economy is in a state where inflation is happening, lowering employment is one of the ways to fight it. It seems to be what the Fed is targeting. I'm not saying it's good, better, otherwise. I think there's arguments on both sides. But at this time, it is what they're trying to do. So the idea, I think, that people were, equities were responding to is that the assumption was employment would be dropping, and then as a result, the Fed would change their position, right, and slow down this this interest rate hiking regime that they're on right now. And unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, depending on your side of the argument, the next day employment numbers came out. They were solid, still on the upward trend, and told you it was dirt cheap. And so what ended up happening is the equity started to decline again. Not a major decline, mind you, but we are a little bit down from that period. Dollar reversal, economic shakiness starts to hit again on the speculatory side, right? That's the side where people are speculating based on what they think the Fed will do. Again, don't fight the Fed. As of now, it looks like, gotta love some Kamigawa. It looks like we will still see some further tightening, or I guess strengthening of interest rates for the Fed come November, I believe, is the next rate raise. I don't think it's October. I could be wrong. It may be October. Whatever it is, the next one that's coming up, they expect another 75 basis points, and then the one after that, people are starting to say they think it will taper off. But the real question is, will it? And it's all dependent upon the data we get out. We get the CPI reading before that. Not the one coming up, but the one after that. There'll be a CPI data situation that we'll get to see what's happening with inflation. I think the current estimate is 8.1%, and last time it was 8.3. So that would be a reduction, which is, cooling off and means the Fed's process is working, which would be good. But we'll see. We'll see. You got to follow the data, follow the Fed. Don't try to fight the Fed, especially right now. They have a massive amount of capability to affect the markets. I think they're attempting to unwind $8 trillion worth of assets on the books. That's what I believe I read recently. Essentially quantitative tightening, so the opposite of quantitative easing, which you guys may remember from, I think it was the '08 crisis is when that was first invented, and they did it throughout that process, helped keep the economy from crashing too hard, save some banks and such, and then now we're at a point where they're trying to unwind that, take the profits off their books, return it to the U.S. Treasury, which is what happens, by the way. I'm not sure if it's in 100% of the cases of their book value, but oftentimes the stuff they rescued, they're essentially using Treasury dollars for the rescue, printed under U.S. authority. So when it unwinds and there's a profit, the profit ends up back in the U.S. Treasury. Helps fill our deficit and our gap in expenses versus income. So just so you know, that is part of how that all works. Not sure on these particular assets. I'm not sure what they have on the books. I haven't dug in detail. But $8 trillion in anything is enough to shake the globe, right? So if they unwind that too fast, it will cause problems, and that's what people are most worried about, or part of what people are really worried about. So point being, we're still in a shaky spot, guys. Does mean there will be further and further opportunities to accumulate. As you can see here, I have aggressively accumulated, as I said, money where my mouth is. I am diversifying with some Pokemon, moving outside of my normal, just collector boxes. I get one of these, every one of those. Sometimes I get some of these, and then obviously you guys have seen my Flesh and Blood stuff because I open that and I get cases of it and whatnot. So I am pretty strong in Flesh and Blood. I'm okay in Magic, and now I'm getting a little bit of Pokemon. And as I said in my previous video, this is order of operations. These are the least of my assets that I'm chasing down right now, and the plan is to deploy capital over the next, call it 7 months or so, maybe 6 at this point. I started this process when it was 10 months, but it has been a few months, I think, since then. So I'm not exactly sure where my next number is. I know what my monthly target is, so I got to go look at balances and stuff. Point being, equities first for me, crypto second, also doing that, and then collectibles such as this. So this is my third tier asset. So that's the way I am doing it. None of this is financial advice, but it is one of those things where, you can follow along, see how you do. Obviously, never put yourself at risk. Do not leverage. This is all from, free capital that I freed up at the top of the market, essentially expecting the decline. Markets declined about 30%, so I saved myself that loss, and now I'm redeploying to get back in. It will probably continue to go down. I'll get punched in the face, but I feel that the downside is lower than the upside at this point, so it's time to redeploy that capital into the markets at a slightly different ratio than I had before, because I didn't have many collectibles. I definitely didn't have any Pokemon. So it's like a shifting of the balance of the books and trying to create a risk-adjusted return that's as high as possible. It's called a Sharpe ratio. So by diversifying across assets, you can basically maximize your return, minimize your variance on the value, so you don't have as much risk in the portfolio. This part isn't mathematically confirmed because that would take way more work than I'm willing to do to come up with the Sharpe ratio across all tradable products. But like I said, I might start doing some data on this. Leave a comment if you think that's a good idea, bad idea. It would be like the market updates. Probably start with Sword Shield and then just go from there, and instead of going backwards, and then do market tracking every week, that sort of thing. Thinking about it. I'm looking at a few scripts to scrape TCG Player because I cannot get API access. If you know someone that has API access or is willing to help me get API access, please reach out. I would love to find out how to do that, but I need a digital way to grab these prices because there's just so many products, and it's going to be tough. All right, I hope that was interesting, entertaining, and informative. I hope you're out there cracking packs, playing games, and enjoying yourself. It is a hobby. It is for fun, and you should be having fun. You deserve to have fun. So I hope things are good for you. I hope you're weathering this economic weather and hurricane weather and all the rest of the weather. And, you know, I hope you're having fun playing some games with some friends. Looks like I'm going to get a chance to play some games with Tommy this weekend, so that'll be great. That's it for now, and have a good one.